Remember when I said that this was a very warm sweater? I'm not kidding, I'm really sweating right now. Too hot, too hot. Hey guys. Welcome back. I was really in the mood today to just sit down, do a little bit of knitting, do a knit and chat. I know you guys really love the knit and chat videos because if you're like me, you love going through YouTube and finding one of the longest videos out there and then just sitting down and knitting and listening to other knitters, what they're working on and what's inspiring them. And with the knit and chats, that's kind of what I'm going for, without the pressure of having to show a lot of different whips and things that I finished and so on, because sometimes that's not really the case for me. And I want to connect with you guys a little bit more frequently than I would be able to just to release a podcast like once every 2 months or something like that. Actually, my knitting mojo has gotten a lot better. And I feel like I'm making a lot more progress, but yeah, the knit and chats will stay because I really enjoy them. And today I wanted to do a little bit of a Q&A. I asked you guys over on Instagram if you had any questions at all, and I thought for the knit and chat today we can just chat about the questions that you had. I'll answer some of those, and maybe we'll get to know each other a little bit better. And I think that would be really, really great. So I'm going to share with you what I'm working on. Honestly, I just cast this on this morning because I wanted to do one of these videos, but I wanted to have something that was going to be relatively easy to work on while I was chatting. Most of the whips that I have right now are kind of in like that complicated space where I have to do something that I need to pay attention to. Like for the sock that I'm working on, I have to pick up the heel, and I'm not as familiar with that, so it would be me having to follow some steps. And then I have a cardigan that I've been working on, and that's just too big, you know. So I actually just cast on a pair of fingerless gloves. I'm really just winging it. It's definitely very much inspired by the Petite Knit penny gloves, except I'm working with completely different size needles, I think like half a size up, and I don't think this yarn works for that pattern, so I just cast on stitches and I'm working them in the round on these ginormous DPNs. So I was talking about how I have trouble with DPNs, but I'm actually getting pretty comfortable with them, and a lot of you said it was probably because I'm working on DPNs that are just way too long for the projects that I'm working. Which very well may be the case because I do find it quite clunky because they are so long, but I just don't work with DPNs enough to really invest in another pair, and these are just so well made, which kind of is why I bought them in the first place. So I'm going to continue to use them, and you know, maybe one day I'll just get so used to the how long they are, and it won't really matter. And I think I'm starting to get to that point, so that's very good news. But I'm working with a skein that I had in my stash. It's Garthenor yarn that I picked up last year. I kept the tag. It's the Beacons yarn. And I only got one skein of this because I was just curious and I wanted to give it a try. I didn't know, I only got the one skein because I just wanted to use that as kind of like a tester, trying to see, do I want to work a sweater's quantity of it or not? And my first impressions are really great. It's pretty soft. It is 100% organic wool. It's 100% wool. It's 100% natural fiber. That's what I was trying to say. It's Polwarth, Romney, and Hebridean wool all mixed together. I'm not going to talk about the percentages. It's whatever it is. It's a DK weight yarn, and this is the shade Basalt, which has... Am I in focus? Hello? If I wasn't in focus, now I am. Here is the yarn that I'm working with. I really like the texture of the color like the different variation in the color. It's got some darker gray and a lighter gray, and it has like that marbled effect, which is really cool. And yeah, it's just, it's a really soft yarn, soft to the touch, very soft, compared to the Snowdonia, which is also a very soft rustic yarn, but this is not as rustic, I would say, to the touch. Take all of that with a grain of salt because I'm not really somebody who works with a lot of rustic yarn, so I'm kind of like dipping my toes into that. So for somebody who is used to working with fairly soft yarn, this meets my standards, let's say, with the soft category. So I'm gonna work some fingerless gloves because lately I've been really enjoying morning walks, and it's early March, but it's still very, very cold. I know I'm very late on this, but I did have plans. I think that was like the first project that came to mind with this yarn here. I was thinking, okay, what's small that I could use just one skein in this, and I wasn't really sure if these would be really good sock, this would be good sock yarn, and I was thinking, oh yeah, fingerless gloves would be really nice. And that was my intention back in December, but I just never got around to casting it on and getting started. And so, yeah, better late than never, because I've been inspired because I've been going on pretty long walks in the early morning when it's nice and cold outside and my hands are a little chilly, so it would be nice to have some fingerless gloves. So I'm going to crank these out, and I'm actually happy to report that I did start this morning, so I might actually be able to finish at least one glove today and maybe get pretty far on the second one too. Still early afternoon, I have an evening of knitting that I can do, so I think that is exactly what I'm going to do. Yeah, so anything else to say about my project? I don't think so. I think that's basically it, so we can get into the questions that you guys asked me over on Instagram. And the first one is, are you well? Also, what is your favorite and least favorite things I've knitted? So I'm well. Thank you very much for asking. That's very sweet. Favorite and least favorite thing that I've knitted. I will say that probably my favorite thing, I'm gonna go off of wear and what I've worn the most, which is this sweater that I'm wearing right now. It's the North sweater by Hit Knit Shop. You've definitely seen it a million times. It's a very controversial piece here on this channel. So yeah, I think that one's my favorite just because it's something that I can wear all the time. It's just so easy to just throw on. And it keeps me extremely warm and does everything that I want a sweater to do. And that oversized fit, I think, makes me feel very comfortable. And yeah, I get a lot of wear out of this piece, and it's a beautiful color as well, and was a lot of fun to make. Least favorite thing that I've knitted would probably be the mohair vest, at least whatever's coming straight to mind, because I know that there's probably a lot of different things that I could say, because it's not all my projects are fantastic, like absolutely love them kind of thing. But the one that's coming to mind is my mohair vest, because it's not something I can get wear out of at all because it's crazy colors. I do love the shape of it. It was really nice, and there's a tutorial for it on YouTube. I think it was one of the tutorials I did for spring last year. And yeah, I just knit mohair together, and the concept itself is really great, but execution I don't really like because it's just two colors together that I would never actually wear, even though I like the colors and I think they're pretty. That's completely different for me, like in what I want to wear. And mainly my goal for knitting is to make things that I wear a lot, or that I will get a lot of wear out of. So I think I also base my successive projects on that too. So most successful and favorite pieces would be the ones that I get a lot of wear out of because they're the ones I grab for the most. And then the least favorites would probably be the ones that I can never manage to wear. Okay, this next one is kind of funny. what are your unpopular knitting opinions? And when I first saw this question, I was like, I don't know, but I have one. And I don't mean this in a mean way at all. Like, this is not throwing shade to anybody in particular. I've just noticed a lot recently on Instagram that it's like my entire feed is just completely inundated with people knitting. I guess my unpopular knitting opinion is that I don't like the reels of people just knitting. I don't find them fun to watch, and I would prefer to see a picture of somebody holding needles in an artistic way. And I don't mean this to like attack anybody. It's more just against Instagram. I'm kind of annoyed that they're forcing reels down everybody's throat. Because I feel like it's made Instagram less of a creative platform than it used to be. Because it feels like every time I go on Instagram, it's just my entire feed is people knitting. And I like knitting along with somebody, but like the overhead shot of somebody just knitting for 15 seconds, when everybody does it, it kind of bothers me. And again, this is no like shade to anybody. It's just more the fact that you're kind of going for the algorithm, and I totally respect that. That's the way that Instagram is rewarding people. I just think it's a shame because old Instagram, I think, was a lot more creative, and I really love photos. I love reels too in some ways, but you got to be creative with them, I think. At least in my opinion, and it's just difficult, I think, sometimes to do video format and keep it fresh, you know? I miss Instagram and pictures. I think that's really what it is. So yeah, I'd say that's my unpopular opinion. I'd be curious to hear what you guys think. If you have the same opinion or if you really love reels, definitely let me know. Again, no shade either way. That's just my hot take. The next question is, what is the most complex pattern in your to-be knit pile? I've actually been craving some complexity lately because I'm sure you've noticed I knit a lot of just plain stockinette because for knitting for me, it's more of a mindless hobby. I like just being able to knit without looking at my work, without really paying attention to a pattern. That's what I've kind of adapted into as a knitter. While I'm used to doing a lot of mindless projects and I do enjoy that, I think I've kind of reached my limit, at least for now. I want to start incorporating something a little bit more complex. So the one that I think is most complex and is kind of intimidating, but I really want to start it, hopefully over the summer, which I think is probably the worst time to start it, but I want to do either the Jenny sweater or the Jenny jacket. And I think I would do the Jenny sweater so then I could knit in the round. I hope it's knit in the round. I think it is. Instead of working back and forth, because I think that would take me a lot longer with such a complicated stitch. So I'm thinking the Jenny sweater with that smocking pattern is really beautiful, but it does seem very complicated and it does seem like it would take me a while, which is probably why I haven't cast it on. I actually know exactly what fiber I want to work with it too. I want to do, I have that Knitting for Olive mohair and yarn, wool, merino, Knitting for Olive merino in this cream color. And I was originally going to do the no frills sweater, but I think I should just go and do something a little bit more complex because the no frills sweater, what's stopping me from casting that on is because I've heard it's a real slug of a project, like totally worth it in the end, but you got to commit to a lot of rows of stockinette stitch. And you know, I'm kind of, like I said, I want a little bit more complexity. So I think that is exactly what I'm going to work up with that fiber combination. Actually, I want to try this on to see where I'm at, because I think that's a good length for like the sleeve part. So I might need to separate now for the thumb. Which I think to do that, I'm just gonna work a couple of increases and then put stitches on hold for the thumb. Hold on, let me think about that. Before we continue on with our chat, I want to say a quick thank you to the sponsor of today's video, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for anyone who loves learning and exploring their creativity. I've been using Skillshare for a few months now, and it has become one of my favorite ways to invest in myself and a little me time. There's always something new to discover. This month, I'm diving into embroidery with an introductory course on a few basic hand stitches. I would love to add another craft to my ever-growing list, and with the stitches under my belt, I will begin to feel more comfortable to give this hobby another go. If you'd like to try out Skillshare for yourself, the first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the description will receive 1 month free trial. So thank you so much to Skillshare for supporting this channel, and let's get back to our chat. I got 2 questions related to hair, which I thought was really funny. The first one was if I'm a natural redhead, and yes I am. And although it's gotten darker, I think, as I've gotten older, or maybe I'm just not spending a lot of time in the sun. So I kind of look brunette a lot more recently. And then the other question was about my bangs. I cut them myself, and I actually cut my own hair now, not very frequently at all, but ever since COVID hit, I guess I just decided I was gonna start cutting my own hair in its entirety. I've always cut my own bangs since I got them cut professionally, but I do a touch-up by myself. I have just hair scissors and then I cut. Which is why they probably always look really lopsided because I have a cowlick and it like shoots up, and I haven't gotten the hang of like how to kind of accommodate for that. Sometimes I get it really well, other times it's just like, it's just something I can't really control. So I kind of embrace the lopsided bangs. Yeah, and I like it, or at least I tell myself that. I mean, the one thing is, if you are interested in getting bangs, definitely do it. I love bangs. But just know that you're gonna just have to get used to awkward phases, because I feel like bangs have awkward phases. Like, there's always a point in the month, because bangs grow really fast, you always have to like keep up with them. You're always gonna have like a couple of days where you're gonna look a little less like you want to, and you have to be comfortable with that. So just keep that in mind. What's your reason for not using continental style? Because it's better for your wrists. I totally know. I've heard that at least. I'm trying to get into continental. The reality is, even though I do deal with like wrist pain, I'm kind of too stubborn. I'm a very stubborn person. So I kind of just want to do what works. And I'm stubborn and impatient, so I don't want to waste my time trying to learn something new if that's gonna slow me down, because I do knit quite fast, I think, for myself. I'm a slow knitter, but like, I can get into a rhythm and knit pretty quickly, especially if I'm not focusing on anything else. So I guess just the comfort of English style is what's keeping me there. I am like dipping my toes into it though. I started, like I told you guys, I have that one sock pattern that I'm working color work, and I'm learning continental with the color work so I can work 2 colors at a time. It's just still really awkward for me, and because it's a lot slower, I'm just less inclined to start other projects. Also, on top of that, I know my tension pretty well, and I have very even tension with my English style. So I'm kind of nervous to stop that, or to go away from that and have a more unpredictable tension with continental, because it's very unpredictable. So yeah, that's the main reason. Although I do know that is better for the wrists in the long run. But the funny thing is, I don't have wrist pain with my throwing hand. I have wrist pain with my other hand, and I don't know why that is. So it makes me think that it's not really related to that, if that makes sense. Like, it's not related to my English style. Oh yeah, well actually, completely, you know, just to tell you guys, because we're just chatting, right? I'm not giving you any medical advice. I did recently find out that my vitamin D levels are extremely low. Living in Belgium, that's kind of to be expected. Everyone here, I think, has some kind of vitamin D deficiency. It's just that I wasn't taking supplements like I probably should have been for all these years that I've lived here. So my vitamin D level was so absurdly low. And doing some research into it, vitamin D does have an impact on your joints and bones. So this is just me thinking that maybe that has something to do with it. So I'm doing a lot better now. Ever since I found out about that, I've been taking supplements and making sure, again, to get outside a lot more, and I will continue to do so when it gets a lot nicer. So that's just one thing that I'm kind of testing out on my own. Again, no medical advice, just a little tidbit that I wanted to share with you guys, just to see if that might help me out. And I haven't been having as crippling of wrist pain that I did last year, so maybe it's helping. Yeah, I got a lot of questions about what I dread about in knitting. Frogging would be like the typical answer, but I don't think that's the case anymore. I think I'm 100% okay with frogging now. It's just become an integral part of my knitting process. And I would just say, if that's something that you dread, just start to embrace it, because it's inevitable, and the sooner you do it, the quicker you can get back on track with whatever project you're working on. I think maybe weaving in ends also could be one, although for my balaclava, I actually really enjoyed it. And there were a lot of ends to weave in. Okay, do you plan on getting into baby knits anytime soon? And would I knit for my baby? No comment, but there are a couple of patterns that caught my eye. Of course, everything by Petite Knit is a must knit for when I've got babies. I love the teddy suit. I think a lot of knitters who have gotten pregnant recently, they're all starting on the teddy suit, and I think that's just so cute. And then I really love the Selma suit. That's one that I've seen for years now, and it's always in my like future plans. I even have yarn that I really want to work it up with. That was actually given to me by my grandmother, something that she just had in the house. So I thought it would be really cute to have like an heirloom piece where it was yarn that was given by her, and then I created into a suit for my baby, which would be really sweet. So yeah, it's really hard not to get excited about baby knits, because you see so many cute patterns that seem really doable too. And baby knits seem like they would just fly off the needles to me. I don't know. Probably not though. Knowing me, like I'm thinking, oh yeah, it's gonna be a quick knit, and then I'd get stuck on it or something and have not as much as I would imagine. I guess I imagine myself to be the mom that's gonna knit like everything for the kids, and yeah, it would be very exciting. So any patterns that I would really love to knit but won't because I won't wear them. And then also questions about will or have I ever knit a dress. And I don't know if I ever will knit a dress. So the two relate because I really, really love the Made You Fall dress by Ocean Knits. I think it's a beautiful design and it looks really clever, and I've heard a lot of amazing things about the Made You Look top that she has, about how size inclusive it is and how customizable it is. And that design, I think it looks beautiful, but it's not something that I would ever wear. mainly because I just don't like tight form-fitting things. And that would probably be my answer. I think that design would be very beautiful and sounds like a lot of fun to knit, but the Made You Look top and the Made You Fall dress, both very beautiful. I probably would never cast them on because I wouldn't get the wear out of them. I'm just not very comfortable in tight-fitting things. You know me, guys. I love really like boxy, square, oversized sweaters, and that's like my knitting journey in a nutshell. So things with a lot of shape and a lot of emphasis on certain parts of the body is not really my thing. But I'm really impressed with the design, and I think it looks really cool. And just in general, dresses in general, even if it was a boxy fit, which maybe I would go for, I don't know. I don't know if I would do it. Hard to say. How did you get Molly? Would love to hear more about her and see your cat more often. That is so funny. I actually have a great story about Molly, so I'm very happy you asked. So I got Molly in the summer before my sophomore year of college. That was, I still can't remember the date off the top, 2014 or 2013. Summer of 2013, yes. So I got her in the summer. It was the summer before I was moving into my first apartment. In retrospect, I think I was kind of a jerk because we all signed a lease to go into this apartment and didn't say that I was going to be bringing a cat. The cat thing kind of just happened over the summer. I don't know what happened. I was looking at kitten photos on Craigslist, and I was just playing with the idea. I was like, oh, it'd be really nice to have a kitten. That would be really sweet. And yeah, I wasn't 100% serious about it, but then I found the listing for Molly. Like the Craigslist ad was pretty sketchy. It was just a picture of him holding Molly and this other kitten with his fist like this. And the cat was just like looking terrified. I think they were also feral cats, so they weren't used to being around people. And the Craigslist title and description was basically just like $20 for this cat. Otherwise, it's going to be fed to a snake. And I was like, oh my God, the cat's going to be fed to a snake. So I immediately, I told my dad, I was like, you know what, I'm going to pick up this cat. It's only $20. It's going to be fed to a snake. And then he was just like, whoa, 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 whoa. You're not going by yourself. I'm coming with you, because it was a very sketchy ad. I'm very glad that he came with me. I met this guy at a gas station, and he like pulled the cat out of the cat was just roaming around Molly. Why am I calling her the cat? But she was like this big and just crying. And he pulled her out from the passenger front seat, and the car was a mess, whatever. And he just like handed her to me, and I handed him $20. And then I took her home, and she used to like sit on my shoulder. She was really that small that she like barely weighed a thing. We were like 2 peas in a pod, but she was kind of scared of me for the first couple of weeks. Probably because she had a very traumatic experience with whoever sold me Molly. So also, at the time, I really wanted a boy cat, and it was under the condition that it was a boy, and he told me that the kitten was a boy, and he lied to me to make $20. It worked out, though, because she's my soulmate. Honestly, I don't know. I would be so lost without Molly. She's the sweetest little thing, except for when she's an absolute jerk, which is more often than not. But yeah, my husband and I, we would be so lost without her. So we're very happy to have her in our lives. And I'm very thankful that she was not fed to a snake. I think it was a lie, though. Good marketing, for sure. So basically, here's what I've been doing this past little bit. I have these little increases that I was working, so then I can like separate for the thumb. I was gonna separate for the thumb when I first measured but didn't really make any sense because I need more stitches for the thumb because it fits perfectly around my hand. So I think I'm going to do a couple more increase rounds. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to do one more increase round, I think, and then put those stitches on hold. I think that should be fine. And then continue for the other 4 fingers. I'm really just winging it here. I really didn't have a plan. I didn't even know I was gonna cast this on this morning. Like I said, I just was looking for something easy to kind of work on while I was chatting with you guys. Let's see, other questions. There are a lot here, so I'm kind of wondering if I should just separate it. But we'll get to as much as possible, as many as I can. Increases or decreases? Definitely increases. I think I like them a lot. They're easier to do. Yeah, this was a bottom-up sweater, but this is like the only bottom-up sweater that I've done. And the Jenny sweater and Jenny jacket are bottom-up. So maybe I will have a different answer after doing that. But I think raglan sweaters are just easier and make more sense to me than bottom-up sweaters like that. Because I also like that you do everything in one piece instead of multiple pieces. And I think they both kind of give a similar look. Maybe I like decreases for like the look when you're looking at a toe of a sock, for example, and you're doing those decreases at the toe. I really like the thick line that's created or that thick border that's created. And sometimes you don't get the same effect with the increases of a raglan. You kind of have the same effect, but there's more gaps. That's a tough question. That was a lot harder than I thought it would be. This one was sweet. What do you think is the secret to a healthy and happy relationship / marriage? Well, I've only been married for 3 months, 4 months. And it's going very well, thank goodness. I'm just kidding. It's going really great. Love married life. Again, I've said this before, doesn't really feel much different because we've been living together for a while. I would say the secret is, of course, aside from like communication, because communication is key. I think it's important to be silly, to like not take yourself so seriously and not take everything so seriously. And that's more like advice for myself because I'm more of the serious one in the relationship. Also, I think speaking your mind is extremely important within reason. Like, of course, respectfully so, but making sure that nothing goes unsaid in the appropriate moment, that's really important to me. And I think that's been very helpful for us to be on the same page about things and feel comfortable saying things to one another and confiding in each other and talking through difficult things. That's been really key. Hey, babe. What's your secret for a happy marriage? So another expat question is, how do I deal with homesickness? And then on the flip side, if I moved back to the States, what would be the one thing that I miss most about Brussels? So about homesickness, I think that's a really difficult question because I have trouble with it too. I think for me, the one thing that really helps me is to kind of just embrace the things in those moments where I'm feeling most homesick, embracing the things that I really love about Brussels, and kind of just indulging in an activity that I couldn't do in the States. Like sightseeing, going back into the center of town, seeing the Grand Place, doing some of those things that I would do if I were a tourist, getting some waffles, chocolate, going to a cafe and sitting down. I think living a little more European, I guess, or indulging in those European things, like people watching at a cafe with some coffee or something, getting like a really good croissant, something that I couldn't do in the US. And if I moved back to the US, which I think we will, hopefully, in the future, not really sure when though, but it is something that's on our mind. I think I would most miss public transportation, actually, funnily enough, because I know that's very mundane, but I come from a place in the US where we didn't have very accessible public transportation. So here I have the metro, I have the tram, I have the bus. All of them are relatively reliable, at least comparatively to the one bus that we had in where I'm from. And yeah, it also covers a lot more of the city than where I'm from. And yeah, I don't even really use the car. That's one thing that I don't miss at all, is driving a lot. I think driving is fun in its own way, but public transportation is just way more convenient and less of a hassle. You don't have to worry about parking. You don't have to worry about traffic as much. Maybe you have to worry about if it's full, or if it shows up on time. But I feel like that is not as much of an issue as, driving can be. And then I thought I had another one, but that's like my main one. I would say, yeah, those little European things. Oh, yeah. And then one thing that I really love about Brussels, I don't know if it's every European country, but like I mentioned, Brussels is so international that I hear all kinds of different languages. And that is one thing that I will absolutely miss. I play a little game with myself. Or my husband and I also I ask him more, like, ooh, what language are they speaking? Of course, I can't eavesdrop on people's conversations. I don't know what language they're speaking, but I hear Russian, Polish, I hear French, obviously, Dutch, I hear, I don't know, I think those are the main language. Spanish and Italian, definitely a lot. And that is really cool to me. I feel like I've gotten more of an ear for languages to kind of figure out what language others are speaking. I can kind of identify that, and I just find that really interesting, and it makes me feel more cultured. I don't know if I actually am, but I just really like being surrounded. I think maybe as an introvert as well, it's just really cool to hear languages and not partake in the conversation. Does that sound strange? So I really enjoy that. And then of course, whenever I hear someone speaking English, my ears perk up and I get really excited. On the flip side though, that can also contribute to my homesickness. It kind of just depends how I'm feeling that day. If I just desperately want to hear some English, that has happened before and that can be pretty tough. So the only thing I can say is maybe trying to indulge in the things that you really love about whatever country you're residing in right now. Call your friends, tell them, that you miss them, call your family, talk to your parents and brothers, sisters, whatever you have, and just try and connect with them. It gets easier sometimes, and just plan a trip and look forward to that. Hopefully you can, to go see them and be reunited. And I think that will be exactly what you need to kind of feel back to the day-to-day, back to normal. So here is where we're at now. I did, I think I did 10 increases. Like I increased 10 stitches, and then I was able to go off of, what am I talking about? Okay, I increased 10 stitches by 10 stitches, and then slid all those stitches off onto a spare string. And I will work that in the round after I'm done with the forefinger bit. I'm going to leave stitch counts below. In case you're interested, again, I'm working on 3.5mm needles and DK weight. So if you have that, you can make these. This one is really nice. There's only one assumption about me, and it's a really nice assumption, so thank you for being kind. You're pretty creative and have dabbled in many hobbies. I didn't realize that I was creative until recently, I guess. This is like until I became an adult. Although, I mean, I used to really love writing, and writing stories was something, like when I was a kid, that was something that was my passion. I thought I was going to be an author one day. I would like come up with stories in my head and then write them down. I used to play on the computer, but before I kind of like discovered like video computer games, I would go on Word and I would just write a bunch of random stories, and then I would get my mom to read them as my editor. So I guess I knew I was creative, written wise. That is not a right thing to say. In that way. I knew I was creative in that way with words. Not so much anymore, apparently. But I only recently discovered, after graduating college, that I love working with my hands. So I went to college for public relations, which is pretty writing heavy as well. And I mean, there's other skills as well, but I took some writing courses that I really loved, and I thought I was pretty good at that. But it wasn't until after, when I had gotten a full-time job, I was looking for things to do, after work, because once you go from college to a full-time job, you're just trying to find something else to do to fill your time at the end of the evening. At least I was. Anyway, long story short, because apparently I'm making this really long, is that I signed up for a pottery class, and that was like the first hobby that I did. And that's actually, I get questions about this mug all the time. I actually made it myself. There's tea in here, but I can prove it because my name is down there. And I'm really proud of this. I've made a lot of different things. Ceramics was one of my absolute favorite hobbies. And it was something that I really missed when I moved here, because I was making a lot of coffee mugs. I made a plate set for myself and a bowl set. The bowl set, a lot smaller, but the plates also small, but are good for like small snacks and things. So I have those, and I want to keep them forever. They match this cup, which is really nice. And that's something that I really miss, something that I can't actually find here that I would love to do again, because it was wheel throwing, and that was a lot of fun. So after that, I discovered I really loved working with my hands. And then when I moved here, I didn't have pottery or ceramics anymore. So I was looking for something else that I could do at home also. And that's when knitting came along again. Even though I did knitting when I was a kid, it wasn't until I moved here that I was looking for something to kind of do in my spare time. And that's when I discovered knitting again, and working with my hands I really love. That led me into sewing, that led me into trying punch needling. I've tried embroidery and cross stitch. I haven't really gotten into that as much. I really want to do cross stitch again. But yeah, I do feel like I just really love working with my hands, and I've always wanted to do woodworking and other things like that. And I never knew that about myself until fairly recently. So I feel like that would have changed everything. Maybe it would have changed what I would have gone to school for. Although I think communications PR degree is a really good one to have now. A lot of jobs for that. Companies always need help with their image. And they need people to, disseminate information in a clear and concise way. That's really important. But maybe I would have done something for fiber arts or some other kind of like more trade-like profession, because I find that makes me the most happy. I feel more fulfilled when I have something physical in my hand. And with like communication and PR, most of the things that you produce are not as concrete, not as tangible as a physical item like this. You guys sent in so many really good questions. I really appreciate it. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to address all of them in this one, but definitely leave me a comment, like this video if you really enjoyed this format, and maybe I will answer the rest of them in another knit and chat video. Also, if you have other like topics or things that you want to chat about in upcoming knit and chat videos, definitely let me know, because I'm always looking for topics. It would be nice to have some suggestions there, so then we can keep the chats going, because I know how much you guys really love these videos, and I really like making them because I can get a couple of rows in on my projects and yeah, and chat with you guys and connect with you guys in the same time. This is looking really good. I'm really happy with where it's at. I didn't get too much further, but I'm gonna continue this off camera, and I'll say goodbye to you guys for now. I just wanted to say thank you guys for being here. It's not possible for me to do a Q&A without you guys, so I really appreciate you guys being interested in wanting to know a little bit more about me. I hope I gave you some insight into who I am as a person more, and I would love to continue to do these again in the future. So yeah, again, just like this video if you liked it. Maybe subscribe if you want to stick around. We love knitting and chatting here on this channel and other little fiber related things. And I will speak to you guys next time. Bye.